Partly metal, partly real.
Whatever the challenge, they are ready. The Centurions.
Welcome back to Retro Wednesday, the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about Ramen Toys, all of the projects they have coming up, but most specifically, there's a big one going on right now with their 80s Commander Retro series. So this is their Apache Commanders to take on the unreleased John Thunder with Rolling Thunder weapon system. And the thing about this is that it's going to be electronic and all this kind of stuff. There's a whole lot going on with it, but this is one of the holy grails of collecting. It is a prototype. It only really exists in prototype, test shots, or unreleased versions of this. And to get this in the average person's collection is a really big deal. Pre-orders open for that on Friday the 17th for the early bird price, and I really say get in on it at the early bird price. But I'm going to talk about all of this, starting with the 80s Commanders 3-pack. I've already reviewed that, so we're moving on to Quicksilver Monstar, the Antagonist Cyborg Land Drone, Apache Commander, Great White, and Goldwing. So we're going to talk about all of this stuff coming up. So first off, we're going to talk about, in the order of this list, the 80s Commanders. Now, this is available right now. It's a more tune and toy accurate set and more retro than before. Now, I don't want to confuse those terms either. This is the 80s Commanders, the smaller 6-inch versions, and they're still available to order right now until they sell out. Obviously, $269 for a set of 3. Now, you can still get the upgraded heads for the original figures with the original colors, and it'll match the figures that you have and all that kind of stuff. Theoretically, all of that will work, and I'm waiting on mine to show up, but you can still order those right now, so that's pretty cool, and let's move on. So next up, we're going to look at the Quicksilver and the Monstar from the Silverhawks, and then we'll get back to some more Centurion stuff. So Quicksilver's coming out. They've shared package images of this, and I think it looks amazing. Now, a couple of things that they've changed as they went. Now, Ramen Toy has learned from customer feedback. That's one thing they're doing really well. In the early days, a lot of people would say they made mistakes or did something wrong, but they did what they wanted to do, and then they took the feedback from the consumer and said, we'll make the changes. Now they're doing that continually as they proceed through the whole development process. So with that, they made the shoulders on this more silver. The elbows are still black instead of like a silver or a gray or something like that. But aside from that, they've gotten rid of almost all of that because there were a lot of complaints about that, the breakup in there. And it does have a shiny paint job. So probably shinier than the Super 7 ones, but this is the packaging setup and how it's going to come, all the different items that are coming in the package, and it looks pretty cool. Now there's a flight stand, but it's not going to be included with the Quicksilver, and I'm not exactly sure why they're doing this, but it's going to be included with Monstar. Now the thing is, it's cool to have a flight stand. I personally don't care so much for a flight stand, but if they give it to me, I will probably use it. It's one of those things that it won't make or break my purchase decision, but it is nice. It's a nice addition, and it's going to help you with different poses down the road. I might not even use it for Quicksilver. I might use it for a different one down the road. Here's the packaging setup for Monstar, and I think this looks great. The figure looks phenomenal. I really love the deep red paint. I hope it comes looking that super shiny because that looks fantastic. I like the way this looks. I like the way all of these look with the Silverhawks from Ramen Toy. And this is another one where maybe it's not 100% tune accurate, but it's their take. It's a little bit more real world, realistic world. They're not going for 100% cartoon accurate with this. That is Super 7's goal. They're going for a bit of a toy, yet super shiny and just kind of their own interpretation. And I love it. And at the end of the day, it's all about what you like more versus does it truly match the cartoon. Now, I do want to get back into this picture here and kind of zoom in a little bit on what's going on with the figures. Now, you're going to see that Monstar's not huge. Monstar's not as massive as, say, when you're looking at what Super 7 did with their Mumra figure, that was kind of in my mind how big Monster would be. It's not going to be quite that big. And at the end of the day, it's really not that big of a difference. So I like the way it looks. The size is okay. I expected it a little bit bigger, but I'm glad they give us this scale chart so we can have an idea of what is going to scale with what and how big things are going to be. So when we get to more Centurion stuff, I've got more to say about that, of course. Next on the list, we're going to be talking about the antagonist Cyborg and the land drone. So as you can see right here from this picture, there are two different color variations of the antagonist Cyborg. And the thing about this is Hacker from the Centurions. And looking at this, you can see that on the left, there is kind of a darker blue, and on the right is the lighter blue. So I'm kind of thinking cartoon on the left, and they call that the original version, and then maybe toy. So 80s version on the right. Maybe that's how they're doing it. But still, both look good. I'm in on two of the one on the right, the lighter color, and one on the left, because I seriously don't know until I get them in hand which one I'm going to like more. But I kind of think the one on the right I'm going to like a little bit more. Those are up for pre-order right now. Here's a closer picture of this. It does look pretty good. So I do like the way this looks. It is very nice, modernized take. I think they're utilizing some parts of the land drone with this, which is fine with me, actually. That's a way to kind of reuse parts and all that kind of stuff. We see that with other companies, but there's not a ton of reused parts with this. But if they use that right leg, that might be part of the land drone. I'm not 100% sure. Still, it looks cool. Here shows a little bit more of the paint apps and all that kind of stuff. So I do like how they've even painted the inside. That was a sticker on the original toy, but this is a high-end figure. They're not putting out a toy like the 80s toy. It's not a Kenner figure. It is a higher end adult collectible figure, and so they're giving the paint to match that. Now, I've kind of shown this in the past too. This does sort of work with the land drone or the traumatizer, and that looks pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. Now, this is going to be their own take on the traumatizer. So if you're collecting, you say, hey, you know what, I can't afford $800 or $1,000, whatever people are asking for traumatizers these days. I can't afford that, so I want to go ahead and get this. It still would work, in my opinion, in your collection. It's a little shorter than the vintage traumatizer, but it's still going to work sort of aesthetically. I think this is a little better. It makes a little more sense. First off, I want to kind of point, they did put sort of an elbow joint in the left arm, and then they do have that center cannon. Now, the other thing is, of course, this thing is front and back. It's the same. It doesn't have a front or a back. Both sides are the same, more or less. There's no screw holes in a back. There's no back. So I don't know how they're doing it, but you literally can just rotate the cannon around, turn the head around, and it'll just turn the other direction and start walking the other direction shooting. That's how this whole thing works. Here is the zero screw hole back. So that's the front. The front is the back. So I just kind of want to emphasize that because that's something different than the original toy, number one. And number two, that is a little bit next level. It's just kind of something you don't see in every figure. Screws and screw hole covers, those kinds of things kind of show up in a lot of figures, but I'm not exactly sure how they're going to pull this off, but I'm really interested in getting my hands on it. Now, I do think that the antagonist Cyborg is, well, the Hacker is up for pre-order right now, but I don't think this one's quite up for pre-order just yet. So as information flows in on that, I'll let you know about it. Okay, so we're getting back into this chart here. This chart. I want to show the scaling and the size. If you look to where the 80s Commander, the Max, is, the green guy for the Centurions, and he's a whole lot smaller than the Hacker figure. In the vintage line, Hacker was about the same height as the regular Centurion. So this is bigger, but it's not as big as the vintage. If you look to the right, we see John Thunder. John Thunder's the size of vintage, so you can see it's still a little shorter, and so is the Traumatizer, but I still feel those could mesh okay. That's just kind of the way I feel, and I'm really glad they put this chart out. So next up on the list, I want to talk about this video. Somehow, my Sunday news, during this video, it kind of screwed up a glitch in the upload of my video, and after this, it was no more news. So I'm figuring out that issue right now, and you'll see that it should work flawlessly in this video, I hope. But I also want to show a different video too. You can have this operating and standing up, not just laying down. They're just showing the different ways that you can do it, and that looks pretty cool. And I like that. I mean, I really do like how they're setting this up and they're making this work. And that is so awesome that we're going to finally get this figure after, what, 35, 40 years? Now, this is a really big deal for Centurions collectors. It's a huge deal because it will be the same size and a very similar aesthetic to the prototype. But if you have the prototype, it's not exactly the same. It's their own take on what the prototype John Thunder looked like. And, of course, it's called the Apache Commander and all that kind of stuff. But if you do have the prototype, you could put your prototype in this, and for the first time ever in your life, actually have the weapon system with it, which is outstanding. So people who have prototypes probably want this, and then people who don't have the prototype probably want it just for the figure, but to get the weapon system, that's awesome, and all the battery power stuff that's going on with it is really awesome too. Now, the other thing I want to say is that this thing is going up for pre-order on Friday, and it is 140 early bird, but if you wait till later, it's 200. They have to hit a minimum order of 800, so I'd like to see this thing made myself. I'm excited for it. I'm ordering 3. And I'd also like to get my hands on one a little early so I can promote it for them and show it, because it is something that no one else is going to do. And they're doing it well. They're doing it right. They're doing it well. I'm very impressed with what they've got going on. And the 80s Commanders are good. And I have a really solid feeling about this guy. Here's kind of him on the stomach and the colors. And I do want to show this also. The mock-up box art of Thunder Knife is what this is called, I guess. So, looking at this, you can match the colors match, and they've done a lot of almost perfect color matching. So that is outstanding. And the actual gimmicks still work, and everything seems to look just right as if you were to buy the original vintage toy. Now, this picture isn't the clearest, and this is, you're getting into super duper ultra rare territory, because I don't even know if anybody even has all the parts from the prototype to make this work. From what the picture was taken, I've seen people that have a part here and a part there, but I haven't seen anybody that has the full-on prototype. So this is outstanding that they were able to replicate it. So we're getting into the Machina line, and this is awesome. The Shark and Gloria Baker and all that kind of stuff, they are showing everything they're doing. So you got a pop-up piece right there, and that is awesome. The little scope that comes up there, they're showing how the wheels fold out, and they say they're still doing something with the wheels folding in different directions or working on it, but everything actually transforms and moves, and these fins pop up, but they say they want to make them longer, so they're working on that. These are super duper early prototypes, which I look forward to getting my hands on this when it comes out, or maybe an early one. But I love that they're actually making everything function. See, before this, we just got model kits that you clip pieces on and unclip, and they do not want to do that with anything on this. That is the whole point of them doing a full-on production and a full-on vintage-like Kenner style Shark that we never got back in the day. I think this was just a little bit too complex for even Kenner to tackle. I think that is probably why, and then it's complex, and it probably would have carried a higher price point because of the complexity, and it was a girl's car back in the day. But still, it is one of the most exciting things going on with Mask. I haven't really seen a whole lot going on with the Red Gullwing. So far, all I've really seen so far is some picture here and there. And I think they did put up a video showing that all of the functions are a little bit different. They are functioning different than the Kenner ones in separately, so that they will clip in place properly and be a little bit more solid, a little bit less fragile than the original vintage one. And this does look really good so far. So anyway, some of the most exciting things going on right now with Silverhawks, and the most exciting things going on with Mask, and the most exciting things going on with Centurions, it's because of Ramen Toy. And since I'm in on all of those vintage properties, and I'd like to see modern versions of these I'm in on everything that they make. I'm really excited about it. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you in on any of these? Did you know about all these? Is any of this information new to you? Because I'd love to know. Like and subscribe, and Titanium Hanger out.
Wings of silver, birds of steel. Silverhawks, partly metal, partly real.
Whatever the challenge, they are ready. The Centurions.